Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and it's Booktober, the time of year where all the candies and cakes turn into pumpkins, ghosts, and bats, and I am here for it. So, last time we talked about books, and today we're going to talk about books again. Last time we finished up some cozy fantasy mystery novels, and then we got into adult science fiction. So today we are going to continue with adult science fiction, and we're going to talk about one author, Martha Wells, and the Murderbot Diaries. So, Booktober is brought to you by your local library. The local library allowed me to check out all these books to decide if I wanted to buy them or not. Saved me a whole bunch of money. And then cost me money because I really wanted to put these on my shelves. So, please patronize your local library. They rely on people like yourselves to come in and check out books to help get them money and to, prove people that their services are necessary. Services don't get more money unless people actually use them. And it's also a good way to, socialize, meet people at your local library, and check out books before you buy them. If you don't want to read the look inside on Amazon, you can just go to the local library, have something you can hold in your hands, and local libraries also have things like audiobooks and ebooks as well, so you can try them before you buy. And authors really like it because if you request a book, the library will buy it, and then the author gets paid. Alright, so thank you to the local library for, bringing us me all these books. Today we are going to talk about Martha Wells and Murderbot because there are 6 of them. I own 5 of the 6 because I was using some Amazon gift cards to buy books while I was to try to get some free shipping. Well, I was picking up my own personal copies of The Dawn Queen, and so thank you for family members for giving me Amazon gift cards for Christmas. So I'll hopefully pick up the 5th novella next time I have some extra Amazon gift card money. But Martha Wells has written 6 of these. So there's 5 novellas and 1 full-length novel. And these are definitely adult science fiction. And they revolve around a security unit cyborg who calls himself Murderbot. Now, in the first book, we meet Murderbot when he is protecting a group of scientists. And what the group of scientists don't know is that in Murderbot's past, and the reason why he calls himself Murderbot, it is possible that he killed a bunch of people, but his brain has been wiped because it's part gray matter, part biological, and part computer, and he doesn't know. But he is, he can put together, he knows he was working at this one area, and he's put together all these computer things, and he's decided to hack his governor model, a part of his body that governs his brain, and if he was doing things wrong and violating his contract would fry his brain. So he doesn't end up murdering people again. Oop, falling down hat. He doesn't want to murder more people because, if somebody hacked him and took him over, which is possible. So we meet him as he's guarding a group of scientists, and as the story progresses, they figure out that the information that they've been given about their planet that they're researching is not only is it incomplete and been tampered with, including their maps, that other scientists who are studying the planet are beginning to die. So there's a third group on the planet called Grey Chris, who also have security units, and they have to, you know, figure out why that Grey Chris is trying to kill everybody, and the security unit, Murderbot, has to decide whether or not he's going to protect the scientists or just, you know, get off himself because he's property and, you know, they'll probably just ship him off somewhere. But he doesn't want his brain to be wiped, but he doesn't want to be taken over either by the Grey Chris people. They could override him because he has a in the back of his neck, he has a data port, basically, and they can put stuff into the data port where it could make him not be himself. Now, Murderbot is very fun as a character, okay? He's where he is, he hasn't left the company or anything, because all he wants to do is hole up in his little box container unit and watch soap operas that he's downloaded into his memory. I can totally relate. There are just some days where all I want to do is curl up in bed and read a good book. Or watch TV all day or whatever. So that his kind of goal in life is to watch as many soap operas as possible. And he, you know, he doesn't always necessarily want to protect the people, you know, around him. He doesn't like these emotions that he's having about these people. But when he gets, you know, once everything ends up happening in All Systems Red, he has a choice on whether or not he's going to stay with the scientists or he's going to go off on his own. And he decides to go off on his own in order to solve the mysteries of his past and the mysteries of what's going on with Grey Chris, basically. And can he find enough information to continue to protect the scientists and the corporate and the... They're not really a corporate unit, they're a planetary unit type of thing, where the head scientist is kind of now his guardian. Like, he's like, I don't need a guardian, but fine, whatever. And to help protect them so that Grey Chris doesn't try to kill them or whatever. So that leads us to the next book, which is Artificial Condition. And in Artificial Condition, we meet another important new character called Art. You don't want to know what the A stands for, or at least from Murderbot's perspective. But Art is a research transport. He's from a university system, and he's kind of acting as a cargo transport at the time when Murderbot meets him. And both Murderbot and Art love the soap operas, so they like watching them together. And Art decides to help Murderbot to both fit in as a modified human, so somebody who has data ports in the back of their neck and stuff like that, so he can pass as a human and not be, you know, mistaken for a sec unit at first glance. And he also helps him, you know, pass off as a human himself to help him, you know, take his first job as a security consultant. So he has more people he's going to help protect as he's trying to infiltrate the station where he may or may not have killed people. And he wants to find out why, but he ends up also wanting to protect the people that he's trying to help, because they're basically indentured servants. This is a very grim universe. Even though, you know, the humans, mostly humans that you meet running around outside of some of the main scientists that we meet in the first book, in this book, they're indentured servants. They might as well be slaves. They're property of the companies that they work for. So it's really kind of, you know, it's very grim type of thing. And Murderbot's kind of point of view adds a very needed amount of levity to the whole situation. And he knows he can't save everybody, but he can try to help the people who are being screwed over right that minute. And the first 4 novellas, you know, the next one, he leaves art. He ends up at a different, he tracks down where the great Chris has also been doing business and decides I have to have more information in this area. Once again, he pretends to be a security consultant to help people, and he ends up revealing he is a sec unit on accident, kind of, and it becomes necessary part of the job. We meet more in this one. We meet kind of like another artificial intelligent robot that's a helper, and in this one we meet another type of cyborg, which is a comfort unit, which he calls sex bots, but I don't think the humans call them sex bots. But we meet like another artificial intelligence robot, and he calls it a pet robot type of thing. He's very about it, you know, he doesn't really like it, but it was helping the humans there that he's trying to protect. And then the first 4 novellas, which honestly I think could have been 2 novels, but he goes back and he has to protect the scientists again because they're trying to. Great Chris is trying to put all the blame on them and so on and so forth. So it's trying to make sure that the head scientist is still free, type of thing. So that's why it's called exit strategy. He's got to get her out, and that has some really kind of intense action sequences. And then in Fugitive Telemetry, he goes back to their planet, and he helps in their space station, and he helps solve a murder. So we have Murderbot helping solve a murder because he has these protocols in his head, in his programming, that, you know, there have been murders in his past before, and the companies like to have them solved really, really fast, so they put these protocols into the sec units so that they can solve the murders. Okay. So that was kind of fun. And then the last one, we get to see Art again! I call him Awesome Research Transport, but that's not what Murderbot calls him. But Art's crew is kidnapped, and Art somehow convinces the people to get Murderbot so Murderbot can rescue his crew. So, I know that's a very, very short of what's going on. So we get to meet more sec units in this one. We get to meet more security units, and there's, you know, a lot of, as Murderbot is running around, you know, he has this kind of conflict of, is he going to help free more of his fellow sec units and the comfort units, all the cyborgs? You know, is he going to help them hack their governing models? Because some of the things that they, in their contracts, are things that the sec units don't have any control over, and if you burn out their brains, you essentially kill them. And, you know, is that really fair to these type of people, to these cyborgs? And of course there is the discussion to how much of a personhood that they really have among the corporate entities, not among the scientists. The scientists are like, you're a person, you shouldn't be under this governorship anyway, and I don't really need to be your guardian, but that's the law. And so there is that kind of discussion, but you're getting this all from the point of view of Murderbot, so you know that you feel that Murderbot is very, very human. So there's kind of like 2 reads I have of Murderbot as a character, and both reads are equally valid. The first read is, you could think of Murderbot as kind of a autistic, asexual, sex-repulsed guy. He doesn't like to be touched, he doesn't like to be hugged or anything. He doesn't really like emotions, he doesn't understand emotion. He can read human body language and, you know, their emotional tells, facial expressions and stuff, because he has it in his programming. But his only type of real reference of human relationships are all these soap operas he's watching. So sometimes you know, people are talking to him, and he's like, and he's very clear in his personal monologues in the first person point of view here, that he has no point of reference to some of these conversations. What exactly is he supposed to say? He doesn't quite get it. And he also doesn't like this idea of sex. He doesn't like the concept of sex. So he's very sex repulsed. And so it's a very, very valid thing. I know some people like this too. So it is a very valid read on it. The other thing is, though, he does talk a lot about how long he's been active since he hacked his governor model. So I decided to look at human years and see, you know, hours to days to years, and find out how long he's actually been kind of free and independent and reading all of these, or watching all these soap operas. And it was about 5 years. 5 years. And I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me, because he's acting kind of like a 5 or 6 year old little boy. He's acting out a lot. He doesn't like emotions. No, he does not want to be hugged. Girls and sex are icky. So it really you can either choose either equally valid interpretation, like, you know, he's either, you know, he's an adult who's autistic and asexual and sex repulsed, or he is he's got the emotional capacity of a 5 or 6 year old boy at the moment, and his only, you know, interactions with human beings or references for human behavior are the essentially soap operas or cartoons, you know. So there's that as well. So those are both really equally valid interpretations. Now, I really enjoyed these books. I really enjoyed them. I am like so looking forward to the next book, because we're gonna have more art in it. They're really great character studies. They're, you know, Murderbot comes off very, very human. They're really great character studies. And the plots are really well done as well. And that is really important, especially when you're doing a first-person type of book. It's not only is the character you're seeing through the eyes of having them be likable, having them have a fun voice. Murderbot's voice is very fun. But, you know, all the characters they meet either need to be likable or really skeezy or whatever, really strong. And the characters we meet are really fun too. Like, you really want to spend more time with them. And yes, like I said, the world building is really grim. The only kind of levity that you really get is, you know, how Murderbot is interacting with it. But the plots are really well constructed for such short things, you know, for such short things. And this is great. This is, if you were just getting into science fiction and you don't often read, this is something I would recommend. It's like me going, well, if you haven't ever really read fantasy before, I would recommend picking up some Narnia, because they're like 30,000, 40,000 words. They're short. They're very approachable, and, you know, and these ones are classics too, you know, and so, like, it gives you a kind of a good idea of what fantasy or what science fiction is like. And I'm really appreciative of traditional publishing, like The Salt and the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. That was also a short novella. It's really encouraging to see that these shorter novellas are being published in nice these are hardbacks. I mean, I didn't want to spend quite as much as them on as I did, but they're nice hardbacks. They have really nice slipcovers. The art is great. So it's really encouraging to see that they are publishing things for today's audiences, because these have a lot of LGBTQI polyamorous type of relationships in them in the background. You know, remember, Murderbot is kind of he's sex repulsed, so he's not in any type of relationship, because, you know, he's acting like he's a 5-year-old boy. Ew, girls, icky, gross, boys, sex, icky, why would you do that, type of thing. But there are a lot of adults around him, so you're going to see a lot of different types of relationships, and it's just there. They just exist. It's not about, you know, the romance of it. They just exist. So it's for today's voice. If you have a young person, college-aged person in your life who wants to get into science fiction, and they're coming out of young adult, these would be really good books for them to pick up, because they're short, because they're approachable and bite-sized, and then by the time you get hooked into all the characters, here we are, book 7 or book 6, then she's giving you a good 80,000 to 110,000 words worth of story. And it's still just as well set up as the shorter books. Once again, I do wish some of the shorter books were longer, but I love reading. I am not your average reader. So, strongly recommend 5 out of 5 for all these. I mean, I love them so much I started writing a little bit of fan fiction for them, and no, I haven't finished it, and I haven't posted it, and I won't tell you my name even if I did. So there. But that's the type of person I am. I really do enjoy it. And so there is going to be more. So I'm looking forward to number 7. I don't know when it's coming out, but she does have a contract for at least one more. I don't know how many more she's got on contract. The 7th one is the only one they've admitted to. So we'll see what else when that comes out, and hopefully it's just as good, because it's going to feature Arson Research Transport more and hopefully his crew. So we're going to learn more about them. And there's so much that could be explored in this world, and got new sec units and stuff to talk about too in those books. This is the type of stuff that got me into sci-fi, okay? This type of stuff is what, I really wasn't into sci-fi until like Star Wars, and then, and then I read Asimov. I've got my Caves of Steel right up next to them. When I'm not having spooky stuff around, my Hellsing manga out and everything, I keep my Caves of Steel, my Asimov. This is like the first kind of cyborg robot thing that I read as a teenager. Yes, I am not. This is some of his least dry stuff. So this is the type of stuff that got me into science fiction. So it's really great to see something for today's youth that would hopefully get them into science fiction. Reading science fiction, not watching science fiction, because that was Star Wars. But so just really great to see. It makes me feel like the future of science fiction and fantasy is still bright, Anyway, I hope those really sounded interesting to you, because, I've just spent 20 minutes, like, gushing about them. And, please, once again, patronize your local library. I read over 90 books this year, and I don't know if I have, yes, it says, I have saved $1,178 this year by checking out books from my local library. And, some of them will end up on my shelves eventually. Most of them will not. I have to really want to read them again for them to show up on my shelves. But there is, like, that was about a third of what I read this year, and from last year, total of over 96 books that I've taken out, so 31 books. It's about a third of that, so that's not too bad of a ratio. I've had a lot worse. So 1/3 of the books I actually got through and enjoyed enough to review and to, recommend to other people. So that's pretty good. And I've got more books to read. I still have over 40 books in my TBR, and like, I'm gonna have to add some more once I get through them. Anyway, so thank you for listening. I'll see you next year. I hope during Booktober. If you enjoyed this season, I want to continue to do Booktober every single year. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Patronize your local libraries. Bless, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.